Every afternoon, sunlight lands on parts of your house that never become useful energy. It hits the garage wall. It hits the patio. It hits the balcony rail. It sits there for hours while the house keeps buying electricity from the grid on the other side of the wall. That is the strange part. The sunlight is already there. The need is already there. But in the United States, the normal path into solar usually begins as a roof project inspection contractor, permit interconnection utility paperwork, sometimes financing, sometimes an HOA or a landlord before the first panel is installed. So the first solar decision becomes too large for the first problem many people want to solve. In many cases, the goal is much smaller than powering an entire house. The goal may be as simple as reducing part of a monthly electric bill, or using a portion of the sunlight that already reaches the property. A plug-in solar kit is interesting because it attacks that smaller problem. Its purpose is straightforward. Make a small amount of grid synchronized power during daylight and let the house use that power before it buys the same amount from the utility. The whole idea depends on one small piece of hardware behind the panel, the microinverter. The panel makes solar electricity. The microinverter turns it into a power the house can safely use with the grid still present. That is the difference between a raw panel leaning in the sun and a certified device that can actually reduce what the meter has to count. This is not a miracle panel, not a secret way to run your home for free. Instead, it is a smaller solar layer for American homes that cannot, or should not, start with a full roof system. We are going to follow the power from sunlight through the panel, through the microinverter into the house, and finally to the meter, where the only thing that changes is simple. The grid has a little less work to do. A plug-in solar kit is often misunderstood when it is judged by the size of the panel. From the outside, it looks like a simple object, a glass panel, a bracket, and a cable. But the real system is not the panel alone. It is the way that panel is connected to the house. The panel collects sunlight and produces direct current. The house cannot use that raw power directly. The microinverter mounted behind the panel or built into the kit changes it into grid, synchronized alternating current, the kind of power the home can use while the utility grid is still present. That makes plug-in solar a different category, from a loose panel, a battery pack, or a full rooftop installation. It is a controlled solar input on the house side of the meter. When sunlight is available, it gives the home another source to draw from before the meter has to count more electricity coming from the grid. This is the key idea. The kit is useful not because it is trying to become the main electrical system of the house. It is useful because it changes the first source of some daytime power. A refrigerator cycle, a router, a freezer, a charger, or a small background load can draw from sunlight first and from the grid second. That is why the microinverter is the center of the story. It is the part that turns a panel in the sun into a grid-aware device. Without it, you only have solar electricity in the wrong form. With it, the house can treat that sunlight as usable power under the right safety circuit and local rule conditions. To understand how it works, start with the panel outside. Sunlight hits the panel and generates direct current DC electricity. That electricity can be used, but most homes are designed to run on alternating current AC, so it needs one more step before it can power household devices. The next stop is the microinverter. That small unit changes the direct current into alternating current that matches the grid the house is already connected to. In plain English, it makes the solar power behave like part of the same electrical system the home is already using. Once that happens, the solar electricity is fed into the home's wiring. Nothing special turns on, and no appliance can tell whether the electricity came from the solar panel or from the grid. From the house's perspective, there is simply another source of power helping supply the electrical demand. If the refrigerator, router, freezer, charger, or another daytime load is already asking for power, part of that demand can be met by the plug-in solar kit. The grid still stays connected. It just has less work to do in that moment. That is why the meter matters. Imagine your home is using 500 watts during the day to run basic appliances. If the plug-in solar panel is producing 300 watts at the same time, the house only needs to take the remaining 200 watts from the grid. The solar kit is not replacing the entire electrical system. Instead, it reduces the amount of electricity that must be purchased from the utility. The effect may seem small moment by moment, but over many sunny hours, those reductions add up and appear as lower electricity consumption on the meter. This is also where the limits begin. If the panel produces less than the house is using the grid supplies, the difference. If the panel produces more than the house can use at that moment, the extra power has to be controlled. It cannot simply be pushed into the wiring any way the panel happens to make it. That is why plug-in solar is not just about watts. It is about who controls those watts before they enter the house. That control point is the microinverter. It is the part that separates a certified plug-in solar kit from the dangerous idea people sometimes picture, a bare panel sending unstable power toward house wiring. A raw panel produces direct current, and that output changes with sunlight, shade, heat, and cloud cover. Your house is not built to accept power in whatever form the panel happens to make. It is built around alternating current that stays in rhythm with the utility grid. The microinverter takes the changing output from the panel and turns it into power that can work with that existing rhythm. A simple way to think about it is this. The panel makes the energy, but the microinverter decides whether that energy is allowed into the system. It follows the grid. It does not ask the house to follow the panel. That is the difference between adding a controlled source and forcing random solar output into wiring that was never meant for it. The second job is shutdown. When the utility grid goes out, a certified plug-in system has to stop feeding power into the house grid connection. That protection is called anti-islanding. The plain English version is simpler. If the main grid is gone, the solar device must not keep a small pocket of wiring energized on its own. That is why certification matters. It is not just a label on the box. It means the device is supposed to handle 3 jobs inside the product. Convert. The panel output stay synchronized with the grid and shut down when the grid is no longer there. Without those jobs plug in, solar is only a risky phrase. With them, it becomes an electrical category that can be judged by safety rules, circuit limits, and local law. So the question is, not can a solar panel be plugged in? The better question is, what device controls the power before it enters the house? For plug-in solar, that answer has to be the microinverter and the safety logic around it. After the microinverter makes the solar power usable, the value of the kit depends on what is drawing electricity inside the house during daylight. Some loads are steady. Some devices stay plugged in, but their power draw rises and falls in cycles like a refrigerator or freezer when the compressor turns on to hold temperature. And in many homes, there are always smaller loads running for long stretches while the sun is still up. The router stays on. The modem stays on. A security camera may stay on. A garage door opener waits in standby. Clocks, chargers, smart speakers, cable boxes, and other small electronics keep drawing small amounts of power in the background. None of these loads is dramatic by itself, but together they create the daytime demand. A plug-in solar kit can reduce. The kit does not need to power one appliance separately. It adds usable power into the home's electrical system, while those loads are already drawing electricity. When the solar kit supplies part of that demand, the house pulls less from the grid at that moment. The meter records less imported electricity. That is the practical value of plug-in solar. It is not trying to replace the largest electrical loads in the house. It is reducing the smaller grid purchases that repeat through many daylight hours. The gain comes from repetition, not from one dramatic burst of power. Before looking at mounting options or installation details, there is one practical question to answer. Where will the panel actually get sunlight? A plug-in solar kit starts with one physical condition: direct sunlight on the glass. Not sunlight somewhere on the property. not a bright-looking wall. The panel has to receive usable light on its own surface during the hours when the house can use the power. The useful locations are usually simple: a balcony rail, a patio area, a garage wall, a shed, or a small ground mount where the panel can face open sky. The bad locations are just as clear: a shaded wall, a north-facing surface, a railing blocked by the roof overhang, or a spot where a tree cuts across the panel during the best sun hours. Before buying a kit, the homeowner can do a basic shade check. Look at the same spot in the morning, around the middle of the day, and again in the afternoon. Watch for roof shadows, tree branches neighboring buildings, balcony rails, and anything that puts a hard line of shade across the panel area. Orientation matters too. In the northern hemisphere, a south-facing exposure usually gives the strongest overall solar window. East-facing panels work earlier in the day. West-facing panels work later. The point is not to chase a perfect angle in theory. The point is to know when that specific panel will actually produce useful power. Placement also has to survive the real house. The panel needs stable mounting. The cable path should not be pinched through a window left in standing water or stretched across a walkway. A sunny spot with a bad cable path is not a good solar location. It is a good idea in the wrong place. A good solar location is only half the path. The other half is the electrical boundary of the house. A plug fitting into an outlet does not automatically mean the system belongs on that circuit. The product, the receptacle, the breaker, the wiring, and the local rule all have to describe the same safe connection. This matters because a normal branch circuit was not designed as an abstract idea. It is a real path in the wall with a breaker protecting it and other loads already connected to it. When a plug-in solar kit adds power on that same side of the house, the circuit has to stay inside its safe operating limits. Certification is the first filter, not the final permission slip. A listed plug-in solar kit is built to be evaluated as a complete device, panel microinverter, plug connection, and shutoff behavior. But that still does not mean every outlet, every balcony, or every state rule is ready for it. In the United States, this is where the pathway can change by location. Some rules were written around hardwired rooftop solar. Some places are beginning to define smaller plug-in systems separately. But the homeowner still has to check the state rule, the utility requirement, the product listing, and the building situation before treating the kit like a normal appliance. A useful point of reference is Germany. In 2024, the German Federal Network Agency registered about 435,000 new plug-in balcony solar installations, and Solar Power Europe reported more than 780,000 registered plug-in PV systems in Germany by the end of that year. Renters and apartment owners have one more layer. A balcony may have good sun, but the lease HOA rule, landlord policy, or building safety rule may still control what can be mounted and how the cable can enter the living space. Good sunlight does not override a bad legal or safety path. The rule is simple: do not treat plug-in as permission to improvise. Use a listed device. Check the circuit. Check the mounting. Check the local rule, the utility requirement, and if you rent the lease or building policy. If any one of those pieces is unclear, the smart move is not to connect first and ask later. It is to stop before the panel enters the house system. After the safety and local rule checks, the economics become much easier to evaluate. A plug-in solar kit saves money only when it reduces electricity the house would have bought from the grid anyway. If the panel makes power while the house can use it, that energy does not have to be purchased. If it produces at the wrong time or in too much shade, the math weakens fast. Think of the bill in kilowatt hours, not in panels. If a system offsets 1,600 kilowatt hours in a year, and the local electricity rate is 17 cents per kilowatt hour, the avoided cost is about $272 for that year. That is not a guaranteed result. It is a clean example of how the math works. Now, compare that with the cost of the kit. If the hardware is around $500, that example can look attractive. In a sunny location with a useful daytime load and a higher electric rate, the payback can be short. In a shaded apartment, a low-rate utility area, or a house with very little daytime use, the same kit can take much longer to justify. That is the honest math of plug-in solar. The panel size matters, but it is not the whole calculation. The useful number is the overlap sunlight available power-produced electricity being used inside the house and local rules allowing that power path. When those line up, the bill can move. When they do not, the panel may still make electricity, but the homeowner may not capture enough value from it. This is where the expectation has to stay honest. A plug-in solar kit is not meant to run the whole house. It is not meant to keep the lights on during a blackout. It is not meant to carry a central air conditioner, an electric oven, or a dryer by itself. Those are different jobs. Night power needs storage. Backup power needs equipment that can separate the house from the grid safely. Large appliances need a larger electrical system than a basic plug-in kit is designed to provide. The job of plug-in solar is narrower, but still useful. Make power during daylight, feed it through a controlled inverter, and reduce some of the electricity the house would otherwise buy from the grid. Judge it by that job, not by the job of a battery system, a generator, or a full rooftop installation. Before buying a plug-in solar kit, focus on the basics first. A few simple checks can tell you whether the system is likely to work well at your home. First, find the real sun. Stand where the panel would go and check that spot more than once in the day. Morning sun, midday sun, and afternoon sun are not the same. A location that looks bright at 1 hour can be shaded for the hours that matter. Second, look at the house load. The kit is most useful when there are normal daytime loads, for it to offset network equipment, refrigeration, loads, standby electronics chargers, or other small devices that are already drawing power while the sun is available. No daytime demand means the solar power has less useful work to do. Third, check the electrical side before anything is connected. The product should be a listed certified device with a microinverter and shutdown protection built into the system. The outlet circuit mounting cable path and product instructions all have to make sense together. A pinched cord, a wet cable path, or an unknown circuit is not a small detail. Finally, check the rules that apply to that specific house. State law utility requirements, HOA rules, lease language, and building policy can all matter. Plug-in solar becomes practical only when the physical path and the permission path line up. That is the point of the whole system, not just making solar power, but giving that power a safe and legal way to do useful work inside the home. A plug-in solar kit is not something you adopt just because you believe solar is good. It is a path of power in one specific house. If that path is real sunlight that used to land on a wall, a patio or a balcony can offset part of the home's daytime consumption and reduce the amount of electricity purchased from the grid. If the path is not real, the panel is only hardware in a bright spot. That is the useful way to think about it. Not as a replacement for the roof system, not as backup power, not as a shortcut around electrical rules. A practical way to turn available sunlight into usable household electricity and reduce the electricity bill. If you already use a plug-in solar kit, share what changed after installation. Did you notice any difference in daytime electricity use or on your utility bill? How much electricity does your system generate on a typical sunny day? And do you feel the results match your expectations? Your experience can help others see how much a plug-in solar kit can actually lower an electric bill and what real-world conditions it needs to work well.